Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. It is officially October and I am super excited to announce that for the month of October, I'll be doing a pumpkin series where every week I'll be sharing a new and delicious pumpkin recipe with you. So I'd love for you to hit that subscribe button so that you can stay up to date with all my latest videos. Now for this week's episode, we'll be making some healthy pumpkin spice mini cheesecakes. If you love pumpkin desserts just like me, but are looking for a guilt-free way to indulge this fall, this recipe is for you because they are not only protein-packed, but also macro-friendly and made with super clean ingredients. Now before we get into the recipe, I wanted to show you this awesome pan I purchased on Amazon. It is specifically meant for mini cheesecakes. This made my life so much easier. So if you have the chance to buy one of these guys, I highly encourage you to. It'll make the process so much more simplified and it'll make your cheesecakes look so beautiful. If you don't have time to purchase something like this, I recommend using a mini cupcake pan and then just putting liners in it. You want to make sure that you can remove those cheesecakes once they're done baking. So that is a really great alternative. Now this recipe makes a total of 12 mini cheesecakes using the mini cheesecake pan, and if you use the mini cupcake pan, it makes a total of 24 cheesecakes. All right, let's get into the recipe.
So we're gonna get started by making the crust for our pumpkin cheesecake. For our crust, we'll be needing 4 teaspoons of coconut oil, and we are gonna melt this in the microwave for 10-second intervals until fully melted. Next, for our crust, we'll be using these Kodiak graham cracker bear bites. For this recipe, we'll be using about 90 grams of cookies, which is about 43 bear bites, and we'll be using a food processor to crush the cookies. I absolutely love these bear bites just because they're a really good alternative to the traditional graham cracker. Now they have about 5 grams of protein in each serving, which is really good for a graham cracker, and they are super low in fats and in sugars. Now, if you don't have a food processor, you can always toss them in a bag and crush all of the cookies in a bag as well. You just will be there for a little bit longer, but that definitely works as well. Once they're all crushed, you're going to want to make sure that your crumbles are nice and fine, that you don't have any really big pieces of cookies. Next, we are going to place our crumbles in a bowl and then pour in all of our coconut oil and make sure that is fully combined. After it's fully combined, you should be able to grab some of the crumbs in your hand and squeeze them together, and they should be a little bit more compact and less loose than they were before. Next, we are going to put our yummy crust to bake. So I'm using this cheesecake pan, which I absolutely love. I purchased this on Amazon. This pan is just the perfect size for a perfect mini cheesecake, and it has these little plates at the bottom that allow you to just push the cheesecake right out of the pan. So for another low-calorie and low-fat option, we'll be using this coconut oil that has pretty much no fats or anything in it. And we are going to grease the inside of this pan so that we can put our cookie crumbs in the bottom to make the crust. For this specific pan, I'll be using about 1 tablespoon of crumbs for each of these little mini cheesecakes. Now, if you'll be using a mini cupcake pan, you can use about 2 teaspoons of this crust per mini cheesecake, and make sure to include that liner because if not, it definitely will stick on the inside of your cupcake pan. The goal is really just to distribute your crumbs evenly among each cheesecake, and these are the measurements that I found worked best for my pan and what I found worked best for a mini cupcake pan. Once that's all done, then what we need to do is make sure to push down the crumbs and make sure that they're tightly compacted on the bottom of each cheesecake. So I'm actually going to use my little pumpkin spice seasoning to push the crumbs down nice and tight. Now, if you have a mini cupcake pan, what I've used is actually the bottom of the tablespoon. I found that that worked for me, but you can pretty much just grab anything that's small and flat that will allow you to push down all the crumbs. When all of your crusts are nice and tightly compacted to the bottom of the pan, then we are just going to put these to bake at 325 degrees for about 10 minutes if you're using a cheesecake pan, and about 5 minutes if you're using a mini cupcake pan. And when it's all done baking, this is what it should look like. As you can tell, the edges of each cheesecake are nice and toasted, and that's pretty much it. We'll set this aside so it can cool down. Next, we're going to start working on our filling for our cheesecake. We'll be using this Miyokos cream cheese. This is the most delicious cream cheese ever, and it is made with cashew milk. So although this does have fat like a regular cream cheese, this is a very clean fat made from cashews. We'll be using 2 ounces of this cream cheese. And then we are going to pour in 1 teaspoon of pumpkin spice seasoning, 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And I'm going to use a hand mixer to cream this for about 2 minutes straight, or until nice and creamy. Now, it's really best to use room temperature cream cheese. So if you can take out your cream cheese at least an hour or 2 before you use it, that would definitely be recommended. Next, we're going to be pouring in 6 ounces of this Too Good vanilla Greek yogurt. Now, this really is going to be the base of what a lot of the cheesecake is made of. Once again, high in protein, very low in sugars and fats, which is exactly what we want for a healthy, creamy cheesecake. We'll also pour in 1 egg, 1/2 cup of organic pumpkin puree. If you don't have organic, that's perfectly fine as well. Libby's is another really great alternative. 1 tablespoon of honey, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract or vanilla bean paste. Now, if you notice, I completely forgot to record me pouring it into the bowl, but I highly recommend that you also include some vanilla. If you do happen to forget it, it's not going to break your recipe, but it really does add some more flavor to this healthy cheesecake. And we are just going to want to mix this for about a minute on a slower speed. This is definitely a part of the mixture that you do not want to overbeat, so make sure that you are beating it slow. All you want is it for it to pretty much be combined. As long as you don't see many big lumps and it is nice and creamy, you're good to go. And for the last ingredients for our cheesecake, we'll be using these Vital Proteins Collagen Peptides. Now, this really doesn't add any flavor or anything to the batter except protein and some healthy vitamins that are just really good for you. So I'm going to be pouring in 3 scoops of this. It comes with a scoop inside the tub. And then we'll also be adding some vanilla protein. Now, this is the vanilla protein that I used, and I'll be pouring in 2 teaspoons of this. And of course, you can switch this for any vanilla protein that you prefer. And then I won't be using my hand mixer to beat the rest of this recipe because I want to make sure that I do not overbeat it. It really does make a big difference to how your cheesecake bakes. So I'm just going to be using a spatula, and I'm just going to give that as well of a mix as I can. If you do notice that any lumps form, try your best to just get those out with a whisk, or you can use the spatula. I just spent a little bit of extra time just making sure that most of the lumps were gone. If you do have a couple, it's totally fine, but just try to get the most that you can out without overmixing it. Now we're going to evenly distribute this batter along each of the mini cheesecakes. So to make this as even as possible, I used a cookie scoop. You can use a tablespoon or whatever it is. The point is to just really make it even. I noticed that 1 cookie scoop for each of the cheesecakes was pretty much perfect. Now, if you're using the mini cupcake pan, I believe what worked for me was about a tablespoon each cheesecake. So don't quote me on that, but you can definitely give that a try and see if that works. But the point is really for it to just be even along all of the cheesecakes. And once those are all nice and even, we are going to toss this into the oven and bake it at 350 degrees for about 30 to 35 minutes. Okay guys, so these are out of the oven. They're officially cooled down, and one thing I wanted to show you is right on the bottom, I can already lift a cheesecake. So you can already tell that this is gonna come out really nice and easy and smooth. So yes, I am totally in love with this cake pan. It makes such a difference. I have done this with a cupcake pan also, and I do like it as well, but you definitely have to use a cupcake liner if you're going to be doing that. So now I'm gonna go ahead and toss these in the fridge. Now my cheesecakes have spent about an hour and a half in the fridge, so now it's time to remove them from the pan. Now of course, if you're using a mini cheesecake pan, you simply just remove them from the pan just like you would cupcakes. But if you're using this mini cheesecake pan, as you can tell, we have the little plates at the bottom of the pan. So using my finger, I am just going to push it right out of the bottom of the pan. And there you have it, super nice and easy. I didn't even have to use a knife to swipe it around the cheesecake for it to be removed. Just such a super easy and simple process. And then we're just going to grab the plate and remove it with your finger. And that's it. We have a perfect crust, perfect everything. So yeah, this pan really makes mini cheesecakes nice and easy. Go ahead and remove all of the rest of the cheesecakes. And remove the plates from the bottoms of all of the mini cheesecakes. And there you have it, a perfect cheesecake. As you can tell, we have just a perfect amount of crust and a perfect amount of filling, and I just really love how these came out. Next, we are going to top these mini cheesecakes with a nice whipped cream. So I'm gonna grab a piping bag. This piping bag is about 16 inches. It's from Wilton. And I'm just going to cut the tip for the specific piping tip I'll be using. So as you can tell, I did not cut it enough, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut it again to make sure it fits perfectly. And the tip that I'll be using is a 1M. So this is an open star tip, and it's a larger tip. I really like this. It's just perfect for what we're doing. So a really easy way to fill your piping bag with frosting or whipped cream or whatever you'll be frosting with is to use a cup. So I'm going to grab the bag and put it inside the cup and roll the edges outside the cup so that it gives us a really nice open space to put whatever we want inside. We'll be using this Cool Whip, which is very low in calories and very low in carbs. I think each mini cheesecake maybe has like half a carb due to the Cool Whip, which is pretty nice. So I'm just gonna put that inside. So once the bag is fairly full, I'm gonna roll the edges right back up, and then I'm gonna push all of the cream down to the bottom of the bag. And then I'm just going to twist the top and apply pressure with my hand, and that's pretty much it. And when I'm frosting, I usually like to start in the middle and then work my way out. Now you'll want this Cool Whip to be kind of at a room temperature so that it slides right out of the bag and nice and smooth. To get just the right texture of the Cool Whip, you're gonna want to make sure you're removing it from the refrigerator, not the freezer. If it's in the freezer, it might have some areas that are a little tougher than others, and that'll stop the whipping cream from coming out of the bag nice and smooth. So once you've put whipping cream on top of all of your cheesecakes, we're gonna top that with some more pumpkin spice and a nice little pecan. And there you have it. We have some beautiful, delicious, healthy mini pumpkin cheesecakes.
Alright guys, I hope that you love this video. I really hope that it helps you enjoy a healthy lifestyle this holiday season. Believe me when I say I know how hard it is to make healthy choices during the holiday season. Don't forget to like this video and to subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye guys.